Hi, this is Coen Tan here, and some of you, my clients, would have already attended my previous training session about how to use social media during COVID times. But in this expanded video, I want to share with you how to use the power of moments to build relationships, strengthen your relationships with your clients, with your employees, with your team, with your suppliers, with your friends during this COVID times. And once again, a recap for those of you who have seen this before. You can see this again, but for those of you who have never seen this training before, I want to share with you that according to Chip and Dan Heath in their book, The Power of Moments, he says that on our life journey, we don't access them by the moments. We access them by key moments that we tend to remember better. So let me explain. Can you remember what did you have for lunch on the 23rd of May, 2012? Chances are you won't, unless, of course, that's a very big day for you, right? So we don't remember every single moment, but we tend to remember three types of moments best. And they are the peak moments. Peak moments is like the day you graduated, the day you had your first car, the day your first day of job, the day you were married, the day you had your first child. Now, these are moments that are the peak moments in our lives, our high point moments. We tend to remember them. And so when we reach out to people during times like that, what do we want to do? We want to celebrate their peaks. That's the reason why we celebrate people's birthday, right? That's the reason why we attend our friend's wedding. Because by celebrating their peak moments, we associate the positive feelings with our presence. Next, we also want to feel the pits. So what you do, you feel the pits. So of course, if there are peak moments, there are also peak moments. Life have up and down, right? So people often feel sometimes, that they're worried, they're anxious about the future, and this is particularly relevant during this period of time. So later I'll share with you a little bit more and share with you my personal story of how I feel people's peaks nowadays. And finally, the transitions. Very often, peaks and pits are more obvious, right? But we very often neglect that transition moments are also challenging moments in our lives. We tend to remember them. For example, when someone moved to a different city or moved to a different country, take on a new job, get married, have children, or even now during COVID times, from working in the office to working from home. These are all transition moments where very often people need to adjust, people need to adapt. So what do? We smoothen the transitions. So how can we celebrate the peaks? So some of my clients have asked me this question. So I'm going to share with you some questions to ask or some conversations to have with people so as to celebrate their peaks. The first question to ask is, what excites you most about? Fill in the blank. So for me, for example, recently, I had a friend of mine who just graduated and gotten her executive MBA. So instead of just sending a text message, say, hey, congratulations, I could just pick up the phone, give her a call and say, hey, congratulations. But I don't just stop there, because what happens typically, people just, oh yeah, okay, thank you, and it's over. So I follow up by asking a question, what excites you most about getting your EMBA? And this is a time where she might say, oh, wow, I'm excited about the career opportunities that's opened up for me. Or I'm excited about transitioning into business or starting my own consulting or coaching practice, for example. Right? So when you get people to talk about the excitements, it entrenches their positive emotions even more, not just congratulations. Next, you can ask her or ask them, what are you grateful for? So when I asked her, she said, oh, I'm really grateful for, my husband. Right? He helped to take care of the kids while I was busy with my EMBA. My husband's so supportive. I'm really, really grateful for him. Based on research, gratitude has always been associated with positive emotions, right? So when we help people celebrate their peak by asking them about questions about their gratitude, we actually also further entrench those peak moments. Of course, these two questions may not only be used during peak moments, but I would say they are like questions on steroids to use when you're asking about the peak moments. Feeling the pits. During these COVID times, people are going to be feeling anxious. People are going to be worried of They'll be fearing loss of their jobs, or businesses are being hit hard by the COVID times. So this is particularly relevant. You see, I just got off a call with a client whose cousin and her husband recently just passed away because they contracted COVID after attending a friend's wedding overseas. So in moments like that, right, it's like I was having a coaching session, and my client told me this news. What do? Do I continue to say, okay, right, today's coaching session, the objective is we're going to learn this, we're going to learn that, we're going to do? No. I just shut up and I feel the pits. So here are some of the things to say. I mean, obviously you need some help, right? It's like very often we need some help approaching some, less than positive kind of news, or to get people to talk about negative stuff, right? So here's some guide. So one of the best way to do that is you just say, I noticed. So for example, you can notice a Facebook post by a friend that is not so positive. Maybe the person is struggling a little, the person is asking for help. You can just say, I noticed this. Do you want to talk about it? Right? And to help things better, you can always add this second line, which is, to me, I used this line recently and it really worked to a treat. I said, I don't know if I can help or offer an advice, but I'll listen. I call myself the chief listening officer, and that's what I do best, listening to people. Because very often, sometimes, people do not want to share about the tough times they're going through because, number one, they don't want to be judged. Number two, they don't want to be vulnerable. And number three, the last thing that they need is for you to give them a lecture or to preach to them what they should do to solve their problems. Sometimes the best thing you can do for them is just to listen. And I think it's really great if you can just pre-frame by saying, I don't know if I can help or offer any advice. You see, you are already making them feel safe. They'll let their guards down and they'll talk to you. And of course, stay true to your promise. Right? At the end of the day, I mean, the conversation, and if there's something you can really offer some advice, or there's some suggestions you like to make during the call, obviously you don't just listen one way, right? It's like maybe there are times when you might just go, have you thought about that? You might ask some questions to coach the person, help the person change their perspective, or you might just say, I used to have this experience, and may I share with you my own perspective, or may I share with you my own story? So in this way, you're not intruding into people by saying, oh yeah, I heard your problem, you should do this, you should do that. This is especially true for ladies, right? It's like sometimes you don't want to open up to your husband because, men, they go straight into problem solving mode. So just promise to listen. I think that usually would be enough to help people to lower their guard, to loosen their inhibitions, and they can just get on a call. And that's something that I use very, very appropriately for a friend of mine who's a fellow trainer, coach, and friend who has been hit hard by the COVID times because she saw her income, falling. Next, we want to also smoothen the transitions, right? So, what can we do to smoothen transitions? So the things to say and sort of questions that you can ask is, what's challenging about, for example, recently because of COVID times, one of the most obvious transitions is people transitioning from working in the office to working from home. And I realized that a lot of working adults, especially their parents, because their kids are also stuck at home, they are doing home-based learning. One of the biggest transitions that they're facing is that having to be in the same space as the family, the kids, and they cannot be focused on their work. So one question I always ask them is, what's challenging about that? So there's an obvious question to ask. But it might be useful to even follow up by saying, if there's something that might make things easier, what might that be? So that is a very, very, you're not really offering to help. You're not saying, hey, let me solve your problem. Once again, when you are going into problem solving mode, sometimes people are like, yeah, it's okay, I'll handle it myself. So just saying, if there's something that might make things easier, because everybody wants to make things easier, right? What might that be? So when they tell you that, you never know, you might be able to recommend someone for them, or recommend activity for the children to do that might really just ease things for them. So again, I mean, this is a very short training session, but I just want to say that, this is a period of time of, tremendous challenges. It's unprecedented. And I can tell you that it's not going to go away. The next coming months, it's going to be even more challenging. So the analogy I share with the client of mine is really just spread a little kindness, right? It's like you're holding onto a candle, and what you want to do is just reach out to people, celebrate their peaks, feel their pits, smoothen the transitions, so that you can light another candle for another person. And can you imagine if you just light 3 people's candles and they go out there and share and light 3 other people's candles, you have influenced 9 people already. And if we go on like this, there'll be 9, 27. After 27 is like 81. And after 81, I mean, my mathematics is failing me, but you get a drift, right? It's like you are going to be, spreading kindness and scaling and magnifying and, amplifying these positive emotions. Because I just want to end by saying that people are living in fear right now. They are in contraction. So you want to help them to live expansionary, things like gratitude, excitement, positive emotions. It's not simply a say, hey, hang in there, don't give up. Or it's not even to say things like, oh, don't think negative, think positive, right? It's like, it's never just so simple, is it? But what really gets to change people is kindness and helping them to see the higher meaning behind what they do. Gratitude, excitement, making a difference. The higher purpose and meaning is what would keep people going in challenging times. That's what Dr. Viktor Frankl said in his book, wrote in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, right? It's like, it is in those days during the concentration camp, in the Holocausts, it's his desire to be reunited with his family, his lovely wife, and his children that kept him going. Spread kindness, ignite people's purpose, because together, that's how we're going to go through this together. This is Coen Tan. Go out there and spread kindness.